Hey everybody, Dennis Tooley here with Multiple Sclerosis TV and the MS Warriors Way podcast. And today I wanted to jump in and spend a little time talking about how to understand the basics of what multiple sclerosis is. It's one of those things. Now, I'm going to start out by saying, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I've never played one on TV or a movie. I think I might have played one in a play when I was in high school, but that doesn't count. So what I am going to be sharing with you here in this video really is more a layman's explanation as to what MS is. Because so many times people talk about MS, they talk about multiple sclerosis, and they don't really have a grasp of exactly what's going on when they're talking about it. I want to kind of simplify it for us. Basically, your immune system runs in overdrive. And when it doesn't have anything to attack, and there's no germs, nothing that shouldn't be there. So it looks at the coating around the nerves in the brain and in your spinal cord. Pretty much anything in your nerve system kind of looks at the coating around it. That coating is called myelin. I'll be honest, the first time somebody said I had a demyelinization problem, I thought they were talking about those balloons. And no, they're not talking about mylar balloons, but that's what I thought. And I was like, so I'm going to have balloons blown up my backside? What? I didn't. So no, it's myelin, and your immune system attacks that myelin and breaks it down. And then what happens as it breaks down that myelin, it causes a couple of different things to happen. It causes the nerves to not be able to send the impulses properly the way they should be sending the impulses. But as the myelin breaks down, it also falls into the other crevices and spots in the brain, and it causes pressure and inflammation and disrupts the flow of the signals of the brain in other ways as well. It slows things down and causes you to be fatigued. And so you've got kind of a double-edged issue when the myelin breaks down. The nerve itself isn't able to send the messages that it's supposed to. And then other nerves around it are kind of disrupted because the myelin is sitting around and putting pressure in places that it's not supposed to be. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the basics of what happens. And so what it kind of looks like is it kind of looks like this. You have the healthy nerve that has the myelin sheath around it. That myelin sheath is kind of like an electric cord, has a plastic coat or a rubber coat around it so that you don't get shocked if you grab it, or you don't disrupt the flow of the electricity by grabbing it. That's kind of what the myelin does around the nerves in your nervous system. Kind of protects them and helps the signals have a direct path to go so that communication between the brain and the rest of the body happens. Well, when that myelin starts to break down, the demyelinization that happens causes those little breaks, causes issues, and so that's where the demyelinization starts to impact and affect how your brain is able to send signals to the rest of the body, and how the rest of the body can communicate back, or how they understand those things. Now, the crazy thing is, I often, when I'm talking with my wife or my son, we would talk about these phantom pains. And the reality was, I might feel a pain in my foot because the brain and the foot weren't talking right. The right signals weren't going through. I hadn't done anything to my foot. hadn't stubbed my toe, hadn't smashed anything, hadn't broken anything, hadn't tripped, hadn't done anything that, and yet my brain was registering, hey, there's something going on down there and it hurts like crazy. You better do something about it. It's kind of a phantom pain is what I call it. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, never been one, never played one on TV. I'm just using layman terms to help you maybe understand a little bit more about the MS. Another thing, people will sometimes, as I'm describing this, I get questions asked about, okay, so why do I get so tired? Why do I get fatigued with the MS? Probably the easiest way for me to describe that or to explain that is if I said, hey, I want you to take a truckload of paper from Chicago to New York City. Could you take a truckload of paper from Chicago to New York City? As long as you know how to drive a truck, I guess. But yes, you should be able to do that. Now, I say, okay, I want you to take that truckload of paper from Chicago to New York City, but you can't take any interstates. You can't take any 4-lane highways. You can only take left-hand turns. Now, can you get it to Chicago from Chicago to New York? Yeah, probably. You still could do that, but it's going to take a whole lot longer, and it's going to use up a whole lot more fuel. So what's happening as your brain basically it's trying to send those messages through the broken down nerve system that the demyelinization process is taking place. It takes longer to get those messages through, and it's kind of like taking nothing but left-hand turns to get the communication to where it needs to go. And so it takes longer, and it's using up more fuel, and you're becoming tired, and you're becoming more fatigued with basic things that normally you could do without any hesitation. But now all of a sudden, you're getting a little bit fatigued. So it's kind of like you take a shower and you want to go take a nap because you used up so much energy. Maybe on another episode of the Warriors Way podcast or here on the Multiple Sclerosis TV channel here on YouTube, I'll spend some time talking about spoon theory. But look up spoon theory and kind of get an idea of the basics again, and I won't go too in depth to it, but basically the basic approach is you have so many spoons that you have to use each day. And if you do something, let's just go back to the example of taking a shower. You take a shower, and the shower, it's going to cost you 2 spoons. So now you have to pull 2 spoons out of what you started with for the day, and you have to give it out because you just spent that on taking a shower. And so maybe going down to get the mail, that's going to cost you another spoon. And so you walk down and get the mail, and you have to give a spoon up. So spoon theory. And that's kind of what when you're talking about the fatigue of MS, you kind of have to take into consideration where are you going to invest your spoons? Where are you going to invest the time and energy that you know you have? Because you also know that everything you do takes more out of you than the average person, and it uses up more energy. And so you've got to kind of plan those things into your day when you have multiple sclerosis. And a lot of people will ask, okay, so why is it that I've got an uncle or I've got an aunt that had MS and they ended up in a wheelchair, but you're over here and you can still walk, but you may walk with a cane. And then I know this other person, they walk with crutches, the arm crutches, or why is it that everybody seems to be different? Well, here's the thing. When the demyelinization process is taking place, it doesn't pick an exact spot in the brain for everybody, and that's how it's always going to happen. It's individually happening. So what's happening in my head and the demyelinization that's going on, I often talk about the monster that's eating away at the inside of my brain or my spinal cord. That monster has chosen to find a spot to nibble. And for me, it's going to be different than it is for my friend who may not have any issues walking, but their issues are more cognitive. They have a harder time processing thoughts, and then you might have somebody. Well, from time to time, I have issues where my optic nerve and my brain and everything, they don't mesh up, but they don't connect and talk like they're supposed to, and so uh, my eyes basically shut down. I go blind, and it happens. The longest it's happened was about 3 months at one time. It may be an hour, maybe 3 hours, maybe 3 days, maybe 3 months. It's one of those crazy things that I don't really understand why it kind of comes and goes. In fact, I asked my neurologist one day. I said, "Hey, doc, do you think we'll ever figure out what it is that's causing this?" And his answer was, "Well, yeah, we might at the autopsy." I don't think I'm in that big of a hurry, doc. Let's go ahead and hit the brakes on finding out. I'll wait, But each one of us, it happens so differently. So there are symptoms, and basically, let me see if I can. I want to bring this picture up, and it's not coming up. So let me see. I'm trying to do something like that. Another episode of this, I'll try to explain how the different types of symptoms that happen, because there's so many different things that come up. I can talk about the stuff that I have gone through, but not everybody's going to have those same symptoms. So I apologize for my lack of technology ability to do all of that, make it look like it's supposed to. But I'd like to blame that on the MS, but no, I think it's probably just that I'm old. Anyway, here's the thing. With multiple sclerosis, each individual person who has MS is going to have symptoms that may be similar to other people, and they may be completely unique to that one individual. I have met and have connected with a lot of people with MS across the country of the United States, actually out of the country. I've got people that I chat with from the UK, from Australia, just a variety of different places around the world. And I've only met 3 people out of all of them that I have connected with that have gone blind for short periods of time. I have met a couple of people who have gone blind because the MS attacked they had optic neuritis is what it was called, optic neuritis. And it damaged the optic nerve so bad that they went blind and they never got their vision back. That happens. And so it's so individual. And what happens to me, there may be people out there that have some similarities. And then there's going to be people who have say, well, that's never happened. Well, here's the one thing that I want to make sure and talk about here as I'm trying to help you understand a little bit about what multiple sclerosis is, what it looks like, and why it's so different. I want to help you understand this. Just because somebody has a symptom and you don't hear of anybody else who has that symptom, it doesn't mean that person is faking. It doesn't mean they're making it up. It doesn't mean that it's all psychological in their head. This is what we deal with on a daily basis, where we have symptoms pop up, we have issues that happen, and we can't do anything to change it. And I don't think any of us are going to go out saying, well, I heard so-and-so had the symptom where they were having bowel issues. I want that symptom. Or maybe the person who's having bowel symptoms says, can I change my bowel symptoms for blindness? we don't get to choose. The disease, the monster that's chomping away at the myelin in the brain and in the nervous system and your spinal cord, it's picking away at those nerves, at the myelin. We don't get to choose where it happens, and we don't get to choose the result of where it happens. All we get to choose is how we're going to face each day with this monster, and we can make a choice as to how we're going to look for something positive and how we're going to overcome in spite of the monster within. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about a very basic understanding about what multiple sclerosis is. And if this has been helpful, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. There's a thumbs up thing down there. If you can hit that thumbs up and let me know that this has been helpful for you, leave me a comment. Let us know on the comments if something made sense or if you have any questions, because I don't know. Sometimes I think I'm explaining stuff and other people go, well, that didn't make a bit of sense to me. So, but if you have questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to respond either with a future video, or I'll try to get back to the comments here. Also, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Kind of stay with us as we are growing this Multiple Sclerosis TV channel here on YouTube. Hit subscribe, invite your friends or anybody who may have questions about multiple sclerosis. Invite them to join and subscribe to the channel. And if quite frankly, if you want, you can hit there's a little bell down, I guess it's down in this corner. I don't know. It's someplace down there. There's a bell looking thing. And if you click on the bell, you smash that bell, it'll let you know anytime we upload a new video. And so if you can join us that way, and if you think this is helpful for you, again, give me the thumbs up, but also share it with somebody that you think it might help. Because ultimately, what I'm trying to do through this channel here on YouTube is I want to provide information and resources and encouragement for people who have multiple sclerosis, any family members, caregivers, anybody that's being impacted by the monster. I want to give people a place to come and get information and get encouragement and motivation from, and hopefully this has been beneficial for you. And I hope that you will, again, subscribe and stay tuned for future videos. I'm going to be doing, probably my next video I'll try to do will be understanding MS symptoms, and we'll go in the picture that I wanted to show you. Evidently it's transparent, and so whatever is behind on the screen is kind of why it didn't show up. So I'll find one that isn't transparent so we can actually see it. And we'll spend some time talking about MS symptoms and how, even though they're all individualized symptoms, but it'll give you a better understanding of the different types of symptoms people struggle with when they have the daily struggle of the chronic illness known as multiple sclerosis. So thank you for joining us here on Multiple Sclerosis TV. And hopefully I will see you again on another video sometime soon. Until then, I'm Dennis Tooley, the founder of MS TV, or Multiple Sclerosis TV, and the MS Warriors Way podcast. Until next time, have a great day. Do something amazing today to make tomorrow giddy with expectation and make yesterday jealous that it didn't happen yesterday. So live that way today, and I'll see you soon.